Hey, what's going on? It's Ramboshi here. Thanks for tuning in to JEDIOSHI Warrior Trading. Today is Tuesday, December 21st. We're going to cover some Bitcoin price action, the Bitcoin market, and take a look at equities, fly around into a little bit of looking at some consolidations and correction phases, and a little bit of what we're seeing in the altcoins. Overnight, we had some pretty interesting action here. We had a pretty exciting couple hours that pushed us up to this top line here. Well, actually, on some exchanges, we pushed outside of it. This is Binance. We pushed outside of this trade range or this trade zone, but since then we've fallen back inside, and we're still doing a small correction here. But at some point, we'll resolve this fully, and we'll break one way or the other. It'll be interesting to see on the daily candle what happens as this day continues. We see that we pushed outside of this range, but the candle body is not closed outside of it. So we'll keep watching throughout the day to see how we fare. Also keeping an eye on equities and what's happening in the equities market, and then to see how we close today. That'll be pretty interesting. If you take a look at the overlay between, I have the SPY up here, or the S&P versus Bitcoin, what you can see is if you go back to October, Bitcoin's in blue, SPY is in red. If you look at Bitcoin, it ran ahead of the equities market by about 10 days. And we ran up to the top. Bitcoin put a correction in ahead of the S&P. And since then, we've seen the S&P struggle a bit, and we've also seen Bitcoin yet to break out. So keeping an eye on this. They do just seem to track very closely, and in the grand picture, I think it's a risk on money flow type environment, but they do track very, very closely together. So if we continue to see weakness in equities or issues, I think we can expect to see that in crypto as well. Next up, if we look at the daily, kind of our bigger picture, where are we? The RSI has broken up here, and this is on the daily candle. So that's good to see. That's good, good for the bulls. And again, we have yet to fully break out of this corrective flag here. And so I think the big question is, can we clear this and come up? And if so, can we clear this and also break price? And can we get the bulls fully in control? Or do we come up here and put another correction in here and come out like that? I think that's really what I'm watching, and what I'm looking for is, how do we come out of this, and how and when do the bulls regain control of the market? And then if we, in our bigger picture, as we're looking at levels, I think if we do come down to say 40, and maybe it's not as low as 36 or something like that, but if we come down to 40, do we come back after we and then say we do break up? Do we pop out of 40, and then do we come back to say 60 for a 702 retracement before further downside, creating a larger head and shoulders on this pattern? Or, this is going to get a little messy, do we create a larger head and shoulders on this pattern if we just go up from here? So going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, being ready for anything. If we do dip down here, I think you're going to see some really nice deals on some of our favorite altcoins, and that'll be nice to see. But if we break up and bulls regain control, then I think we see a nice run for our altcoins. Let's take a look at what I wanted to do was show you guys what I've been studying and seeing in corrective patterns over and over, just trying to visualize how this might resolve. Excuse me. The corrective pattern here was we had our first dip, a little bit of recovery, a final drop before up. And what I've seen is that pattern play out over and over. The dip, recovery, final dip, up. The dip, recovery, chop, dip, final dip, up. Although that was kind of our fake out in the summer. Let's see. You get, I don't know if these are ABCs or what. They are ABCs, but you get a lot of this dip, final dip up, type of correction. And I keep going back to this one. Actually, this is in January of this year. We had our first dip. We had a recovery, a final touch or final dip before we went up. So if that were to play out that way, then what we might see here is you get your dip, your recovery, although we are kind of down and to the right, a final up, a final drop, and then up like that. I just wouldn't be surprised if before the bulls finally take control of the market, we don't get a final drop, and maybe it's not a new lower low, but maybe it is. Maybe this thing has to scare everyone to death, and then we finally pop up, and then we resume. So just being positioned here and being ready for anything. We're going up, down, or sideways, guys. But in reality, I think that just looking at these corrective patterns over and over, I would not be surprised to see one last dip, and maybe it's a higher low here. Again, I go back to what I've been saying a few times about not being able to get 5 waves in C. I don't know if you need to have 5 waves in C, and I think there are some examples where you just go get a sideways 5. So if this is ABC, and I've done this a few times, but let's just say it's this. If that's C, I can't get 5 waves. Now, if I get one stab lower, then I can, and I'm not an Elliott wave guy. But if I do 1, 2, this is 3, up for 4, I need to at least come down here and maybe go as low or maybe a little bit lower to get 5. Again, if I draw this differently, I just get so much overlap that for me, it doesn't work. And so I am looking for the possibility of a final dip here before we ride up. So that's Bitcoin. We are seeing some interesting things in some of the stronger altcoins, like Luna, for example. Luna hasn't looked back really since this is the daily for Luna. Since December 13th, we've just been on an uptrend. It kind of hasn't looked back really. Luna's strong, making new all-time highs here. And I was going to take a look at SHIB, one of our favorite meme dog coins here. But if you look at SHIB on the on the daily, we have corrected now all the way back from 8,500, 8,800, all the way back to this level back here at about 28.50 or so. So is that enough? What I'm looking for is a price break, a strong price break to signal that the bulls are back in control. We do have a break on RSI, which is positive. That's what I would say that comes first, or you see that first, and then you continue to see strength in price, and then you finally will break these levels, and then I think you can move up again. So is that deep enough? Or if Bitcoin gives us one last correction, do we get a chance to buy this a little bit lower? We'll see. But for now, it's all up to the king, and it's all up to what Bitcoin's going to do and how it's going to resolve this correction period. So that'll be really interesting, I think, over the next few days. We've been in this correction for 15, 16 days now. And I think we'll resolve it soon, one way or the other. So we shall see. Well, that's all I had for you today. And enjoy your Tuesday. And thank you for tuning in. And until next time, we'll catch you later. Bye.